So, good morning, everyone. Obviously, we're here today because some wild shit was said on Tuesday, and at the Interfaith dinner. And obviously, as all of us collectively, as interfaith leaders, as religious people, as members of religious communities, we are really out here demanding and saying that there is nothing godly. There is nothing godly about budget cuts. There is nothing godly about budget cuts from school. There's nothing godly about leaving homeless people out of the streets and not funding actual affordable development for our communities and supporting luxury development. And there's nothing godly about what we're seeing in the city council at so many levels. And we're super excited and super grateful to have with us today interfaith leaders from across the city who are going to be speaking also out against some of the statements that were made, but also in favor of maintaining a separation between church and state. We cannot have a New York City, we cannot have a city that is welcoming to diversity and the diversity of perspectives when we have church and state actually intermingled. We cannot have a city where we are making sure that we are welcoming of all kinds of people when we have some sort of theocratic Christian supremacist ideology that's encroaching on our political system. And so I'm super excited today to first welcome Rabbi Emily Cohen, who's actually with us from the West End Synagogue.
Rabbi! When I went to the Interfaith Breakfast earlier this week, I was going to connect with colleagues and to hear, I hoped, plans to make our city better. Instead, what I heard was a call to diminish the separation between church and state that is fundamental to the United States and certainly to New York City, among the most religiously diverse cities in the country. When Mayor Adams says that there is no separation between church and state, he is saying that New Yorkers who do not profess a faith, or perhaps even who do not profess his faith, are not as welcome in this city, and his current policy-making priorities are such that he is not showing a godly manner to begin with. It is not kosher to say that one must profess a faith. It is not kosher to make cuts to education and to libraries. It is not kosher to say that we cannot have shelter for documented and undocumented folks in our city. When Mayor Adams says that when we took prayer out of school, guns went in, he said that prayer was something that has to be in place in order to keep guns from being part of our communities. We know that this isn't true, folks. We know that we have to be willing and able to separate church and state and to act for the good of our city, not because our faith compels us to, but because decency compels us to. We know that as long as we say that New Yorkers must have a faith, and perhaps even a particular faith, this mayor is not serving the people of New York. Mayor Adams is not a servant of God. Mayor Adams is a servant of the people who elected him, and that includes all of us.
Say it again. Say it again so he can hear us.
I just want to repeat that one more time. Mayor Adams is not a servant of God. Mayor Adams is the servant of God. Mayor Adams is the servant of the people who elected him. Thank you so much, Rabbi Emily. So the next person I'll be introducing is Elsa Samaniego, who's a CUF leader and member of Good Shepherd. So the next person I'll be introducing is Rabbi A.B. Stein, who's Okay, I'm just gonna quickly introduce myself because I didn't do that. So I'll do that. So my name is Rana Abdul Hamid. I'm a member of the New York Muslim Organizing Collective, which is a collective that's based out of Queens. We're a group of Muslim organizers, and for us, we have been fighting for so long for so many issues that impact Muslim minoritized people across New York City, like being able to pray, like having access to religious holidays, like having access to halal food. And these are things that matter so much to our community. And it feels very harmful when faith is being weaponized as a way that dismisses the actual needs of so many members of our community. And it is really important for us to make sure that we're emphasizing and focused on the things that matter, that include justice. God is about justice for us, and justice is funding the things that we talked about, funding New York City public schools, funding housing, funding good food security issues, and making sure that our communities have the things that they need. It's with the people that I need.
Yes, the restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant. Okay.
I'm sorry, can you just spell your name for me for our...
Rana, and then my last name is really long.
Yes, well, we want to give you credit where credit's due.
ABDELHAMID.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the next person I'm introducing is Reverend Amanda Hamrick Ashcraft, who's the Executive Minister for Justice, Education, and Movement Building at Middle Collegiate Church.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As they said, I bring you greetings as a minister from Middle Church. Middle Church is a multi-ethnic, multi-faith movement of love and justice. A place that recognizes the absolute necessity of religious diversity so that we can be particular in how we individually understand the divine. We understand that our religious diversity is in fact our strength. It's fundamental to how we flourish and to how we work together for justice. We need our elected officials to understand this as well. And this morning I stand proudly along these interfaith clergy and people of faith and moral conscience to remind the city that we are many. We who understand the profound danger of rejecting a key tenet of the First Amendment. The separation of church and state enables the flourishing of all faiths and protects religious freedom. It protects us from having any one faith forced upon us all. We need only to look at Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, and Kentucky, who have just this week passed anti-LGBTQ+ laws in the name of white Christian nationalism, which is in fact the biggest threat to our democracy. To know that the dangers of theocracy are very real. The separation of church and state is fundamental to a thriving democracy, and New Yorkers deserve a mayor and an administration that reflects the rich and vast religious diversity of this city. I also come before you as a mother of 4, 3 of whom are in New York City public schools. I need not remind you that budgets are moral documents, and as such, I adamantly oppose budget cuts to public libraries and schools, among many other necessary social services that have been slashed. The late Bell Hooks wisely told us that one of the most subversive institutions is the public library. So why these, dare I say, sacred places are being cut is not lost on us. And we must come together and reject this as we affirm the freedom of speech, of community, of public space and thought.
What?
2 weeks before school began in the fall, we got word that my District 1 school art teacher was now going to be teaching 3rd grade. 2 weeks! Imagine the chaos and flurry. This is just one example of the real ways these budget cuts impact teachers, students, and communities. That school children's workshop has welcomed over 40 asylum seekers over the past 3 weeks, but have received no funding from the city to meet the needs of the influx that these beautiful neighbors bring. We need paraprofessionals who speak these children's languages, increase social workers and counselors, and we need it now. What we fund tells a story about who we are and what kind of world we want to build. And friends, contrary to another remark we heard at the breakfast, we must, in fact, build better worlds for our children and for each other. Let us not operate anymore out of a tired scarcity mindset, but rather live into the reality that there is more than enough, that this city has enough, and that our rich religious diversity is enough and is important for us all to build a New York City that works for everyone. Thank you.
Can you say and spell your name for me too? Thank you.
Amanda, Amanda, Hambrick, Hambrick, Ashcraft, Ashcraft.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Reverend. So actually we are now joined by Rabbi Abby Stein, who is joining us from Sacred Space.
Good morning.
Morning.
Before you ask, my name is Abby Stein. Do you want me to spell it?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. ABBYSTEIN. You need my social as well? We're good. Okay. I want to share something that has been on my mind a lot. On Monday night, some of us are going to dress up, whatever we feel like, literally, and join millions of Jews across the globe to read the book of Esther. It's the holiday of Purim. If you don't know anything about it, look it up. It's a lot of fun. The book of Esther, at least the Jewish version, has something very interesting in it. It is the only story in the entire Bible, or what you would call the Tanakh, and one of only 2 books in the Hebrew Bible that doesn't mention God, not even once. Now to me, that sends a very clear message. The story of Esther is a story of a people pushing back against repression, a story that is very political. It is literally what academics would call a court change. It is a story in the court of a king, in the Persian court. The message that I'm getting from it is keep God out of politics. More importantly, we don't need anyone to say that I'm gonna care about your humanity because I believe in a certain version of a God and sometimes a boogeyman in the sky rather, and therefore I will support X, Y, and Z. Even more so, what gets really dangerous is when someone is saying that I am using my beliefs to control an entire city. In our case, I was sitting at a table with some of the amazing people here when we heard the mayor of the most religiously diverse city in the US, I think, at least by numbers, saying it's not strong enough, literally attacking separation between state and church. I know I just went and I wasn't very quiet, and I'm not sorry for that. I just went, no. And I think some of us were on board with that. But it is more than just like, we have a problem with your message. It's more than just, we don't like what you're saying, we don't like that you're using the tropes of people who, let me say, as a Jewish trans woman, are literally by now talking about genocide against me in so many different ways, using the same rhetoric. It is also, how does that really impact you? You're saying you serve God? Does that include defunding pretty much every city agency that isn't the NYPD? Is that what serving God means to you? I am concerned that when I see the NYPD constantly having really good excuses, but constantly supporting, whether it's the Proud Boys or just finding really good excuses why they have to support protesters against, whether it's drag story hours or protesters against abortion clinics and so on. And then you listen to the person who technically controls the NYPD saying stuff like that, and you start thinking, oh, so that's what you mean. In Yiddish, we have a saying, we have a story of a student who gets to school late every single day. An amazing, amazing excuse. At some point, the teacher tells him, I'm going to say it in Yiddish and I will translate it. Atedet hostam uretz blabste. Translates roughly to, you have a really good excuse, but you're going to stay unlearned. You're not going to get any education. It is used in the context when someone just has really good excuses but keeps doing the wrong things. At some point, we're all just like, okay, cut it out. Like, yes, you have a really great excuse, I get it, yeah. They just have to walk the Proud Boys through the turnstile that they keep arresting people for because they wanted to get them out of the way or whatever. You have really great excuses why you keep defunding public libraries, why you defund public schools, why you refuse to even change or minimize the budget of one of the most harmful agencies in the city. I said it. And it gets to a point where I look at you, I listen to you, and I'm like, I don't think you are fighting for the people. I don't know what you're fighting for. You claim it's God. It's definitely not the idea that I think of God, but if it is your God, leave it out. Finally, I love my tradition, well, at least parts of it. I love Judaism. If you don't believe me, check out my Instagram. My girlfriend claims it's too rabbinic all the time. But I also believe that if someone decides they want to have nothing to do with any God, that is beautiful. If you want to create your own God, which is something that we should all do, just saying, sorry. Amazing, great, do that. But most importantly, I want a city that really and truly represents and works for everyone, whether you believe in a very traditional God and a very untraditional God, whether you believe in 1 or in 5,000 gods, or whether you don't believe in anything. It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. Enjoy your religion, enjoy your tradition, and keep it out of politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. All right, so Elsa Samaniego is actually with us.
Yeah.
Health leader.
Sí se puede,
Sí se puede.
sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Muy buenos días. Aquí hemos venido hoy. Lo que hoy hemos podido venir, aquí el pueblo.
What we've been able to come here, the people.
Quiero decirle al alcalde
I would
Eric
like to tell Mayor Eric Adams,
Adams, el pueblo está presente aquí
the people are present here
con una preocupación inmenso,
with a great, great worry,
porque no es justo
because it is not just.
desde el día que él asumió como alcalde,
From the day that he assumed office as mayor,
ha empezado a recortar y quitar, retirar
he has began to cut, to retire, and to discard
los presupuestos
the budgets
a nuestra comunidad.
from our communities.
5 condados,
5 boroughs,
lo que estamos aquí en Nueva York,
and those that are here in New York City,
empezó
begun
a quitar a las escuelas los presupuestos.
to cut school budgets.
Vergonzoso.
Eso
Shame.
no se hace, señor Eric.
That does
No.
not happen, Mr. Eric.
Que nuestras voces sean escuchados,
That our voices will be heard,
porque nuestros niños
because our children
es el futuro del mañana,
are the future of tomorrow.
que necesita
That they need
alimentación,
healthy food,
una buena educación.
a good education.
Y ahora,
And now,
si no tenemos una escuela, que no hay más maestros,
we don't have a school that does not have teachers,
personal de administrativo,
administrative personnel,
personal que apoyen en las escuelas.
and people that support our school system.
Dígame usted, señor Eric,
Let me know, Mr. Eric,
¿podrán estudiar bien nuestros alumnos?
would our children and students be able to study?
¿Podrán enseñar nuestras profesoras?
Will they be able, our teachers, to teach?
¿Verdad que no?
I don't think so.
¿Qué clase de estudiantes estamos formando hoy?
So what type of student are we forming in our schools?
Porque necesitamos ese presupuesto también a las escuelas que sean devueltos.
Because we need a return of those budgets for our schools.
Yes.
Ahora,
And now,
nuestras iglesias,
our churches,
las diferentes iglesias
our houses of worship throughout the
en Nueva
Interfaith,
York,
in New York City,
de los 5 condados,
from the 5 boroughs,
siempre han estado ayudando a nuestra comunidad.
have always been helping our community.
Ahora
But now-
también han chocado
They
con
have-
el presupuesto de las iglesias.
Come into conflict because of these budgetary
No es
pressures.
justo,
It is not just.
no es justo.
No es justo.
Entonces, señor Eric,
Therefore, Mr. Adams,
todos sabemos y los conocemos
we all know each other and understand each
que
other.
usted es un ex
That you are an
oficial militar.
ex-cop.
¿Cuál?
That you
Póngase la mano al pecho
put your hands on your chest
y por favor,
and please,
el pueblo lo exige
the people demand it.
que nos quite esos programas de ayuda,
Do not cut those services that we need.
que es el presupuesto,
That is the budget.
que se lo merece
That we deserve it.
nuestra comunidad
Our community.
de las diferentes iglesias.
The different houses of worship.
Porque en plena pandemia
Because throughout the intense of the pandemic,
han ayudado
they have helped and
con
supported
despensas alimentarios,
with food distributions.
donde realmente
Where in reality,
todos hemos sido testigos, ¿verdad?
we have all been witnesses.
Al cual exigimos
We demand
para que esos programas de presupuestos
that those budgetary programs
regresen a las escuelas
return to the schools,
y no se los quite tampoco
and that we don't take away
a las
either
iglesias.
the houses of worship.
Aquí estamos.
Here we are,
Que nuestras voces
that our voices
sean escuchados.
shall be heard.
No más injusticia.
No more injustice.
Los presupuestos los necesitan los 5 condados
The 5 boroughs, this is the fight
de las diferentes iglesias.
without different houses of worship.
Necesitamos los presupuestos también
We need the budgets as well
para las escuelas.
for the schools.
Necesitamos para esas criaturas y jóvenes y niños que están estudiando.
And we need it for all the students. and
Necesitamos
communities that
buenos
are studying.
profesionales.
We need good jobs.
Señor Eric,
Mr. Eric,
necesitamos
we need
ese presupuesto.
that budget.
Por eso les decimos hoy,
That's why we say today,
el pueblo presente está aquí.
the people are present here.
Se ve,
It is seen
se siente.
and it's felt.
El pueblo está presente. Se ve, se ve, se siente.
El pueblo está presente.
Se ve, se siente. El pueblo está presente. Se ve, se siente. El pueblo está presente. Muchas gracias.
El pueblo unido
Jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. The people united The people united
will never be defeated. Thank you. Gracias. The next person we have up is actually Jonathan from Church.
Yeah, John.
So just briefly, on behalf of Clergy United for Fair Housing, Jonathan Soto here. And it's been said many times already. There is a dangerous strain of faith-based fascism that is coming at the national level through Ron DeSantis and then the educational assault. And we're seeing here New York City Mayor Eric Adams bringing that same brand of virulent faith-based fascism into our city. That cannot happen. To equate himself, especially with the faith leaders talking about homelessness that said Mark, Peter, Paul, and the disciples would be with me tearing up homeless encampments. He literally said that out loud in front of people, and think that there would not be a record of that faith-based fascism to harm, to destroy, and to justify. That's why it needs to stop. So I am so grateful that so many faith leaders have heard this call, that the separation of church and state is fundamental. In no way, shape, or form can we allow the erosion of this, especially in the most diverse city, in the most diverse country, in what could be called the world, frankly, and we cannot allow that to happen here. It is dangerous to see how the defunding of schools parallels a lot of the educational defunding and charter school movements that are starting to seep into New York City. We will soon see fights of religious communities empowered by this faith-based fascism to suppress the rights of children, of our children in the public schools, that won't be able to stand up for an education curriculum that promotes fascism. Who knows if the charter school movement, by defunding our schools and bringing that really dangerous non-separation of church and state, we're going to see it here in our public schools. It's undeniable. Go in that room in the Interfaith Breakfast and you see how people are just chomping at the bit. Rent-a-collars. I'm sorry, because this is more for the faith leaders that will support and sanctify this violence. James Baldwin said it best. The faith community is often used to sanctify power. That cannot happen here. It is not a response, but a challenge to that power, and it is the people's power. It cannot be power based on any faith entity. So faith leaders, many of you who may be fearful because you have budgets in schools and you have business before the city, remember, it's not about the money, it's about the people. We cannot fund budgets. Those that live by the sword die by it, and we need to beat swords into plowshares and divest from police budgets and fund social services. Very clear, that is the core faith and moral imperative, and thank you for the faith leaders for your bravery to stand up against this democratic, faith-based fascism that's coming to New York City.
Can you just say your name and spell it for me? Thank you.
So, name is Jonathan Soto, Jonathan, last name Soto. Clergy United for Fair Housing. Churches United for Fair Housing.
Thank you.
The people united
Will never be defeated.
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 Thank you. And next we have Councilmember Alexis Aviles with us today, who will be sharing a few words.
Si se puede, Alexa, si se puede.
Sí se puede.
Si se puede.
Buenos dias, good morning. My name is Alexa Viles, the proud representative of District 38 South Brooklyn, which includes Sunset Park and Red Hook. You know, I just came from a meeting right now with parents and educators of D75. And these are special needs children, a system that is designed for our children, right? And one of the parents said, you know, children are to be our greatest treasure. Children are our greatest treasure, and they need to be nurtured and loved. And reflecting on the city and what we are doing, and what an austerity budget, like the one that is being proposed, and the cuts that we've done along the years, and the policies that have scratched the surface and have never truly addressed the issues at its root causes, is an affront to everything that we stand for as humans, is an affront when people conjure God and faith and the most deepest sensibilities and values of family. We say one thing and we do another. And I think I'm standing here with some of the most committed humans to say no longer should we say one thing and do another.
That's right.
No longer should we conjure faith
That's right.
for one purpose and contradict it fundamentally with our budget dollars and with our policies.
That's right.
And so I proudly stand here with every organization, every New Yorker that demands and should have full dignity. And that should be reflected in policies that are real, in budgets that reflect those fundamental priorities of human dignity for all people.
That's right.
Not some of you, not some who speak a specific language. Human dignity for all people. I say it 1,000 times. This is not a matter of resources. This is a matter of political will and what we prioritize as a city. And so with that, we say we want the people's budget. We want a people's budget to reflect all the things that our communities need. We want a budget of safety that reflects all the services our communities deserve and need. And so with that, thank you so much to this amazing group of people. Much love to you, and yes, power to the people.
And thank you everyone so much for joining us. And you know, so many of the words that were said here today, we feel it because so many of the people who are standing here are on the front lines of seeing the various forms of violence, whether it's physically walking down the streets of the city, right? Whether it's gun violence that our communities are impacted with, whether it's housing insecurity. I grew up learning English in New York City public schools. These public schools are a lifeline for our communities. And you're probably wondering why I have a sponge in my hand this whole time, right? These metaphors that we have had so much of, and what we heard is that so many of our communities, so many of us, we're not receiving the message, right? We're not receiving the holy message of our rabbis, of our imams, of our pastors, because of something else, because something is out there. But I just want to say that we're not. The truth is, our communities, the only thing that we see is food insecurity, housing insecurity, lack of safety, and what we need to do, the only thing we got to ring out, is we got to ring out the corruption and the greed that we see in City Hall, that we know is bankrolled by real estate, that we know is bankrolled by corporate interests, and that it does not have the truth and the needs of our community and their best interests at heart. That is what we got to ring out.
vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
Okay, got it. I'm so sorry. Sorry, actually that was Cap. That was a great Cap. There is one more person who is actually with New York Communities for Change, one of our favorite organizations, speaking on a very, very important issue that I care deeply about, especially as a self-defense instructor. Public safety campaigner James Innes is going to
How y'all doing? Like she said, my name is James Ennis. I work on public safety at New York Communities for Change. And I got my phone out because I actually have a couple quotes that I'm going to read out for everybody. When Jesus was falsely accused of treason, Pontius Pilate gave Jesus the opportunity to face his accusers. During that sham trial, Pontius Pilate afforded Jesus more than the Democrats afforded to the president during this process. That was Representative Barry Loudermilk of Georgia speaking about President Donald Trump. All right? God uses imperfect people throughout history. King David wasn't perfect, Saul wasn't perfect, Solomon wasn't perfect. And I actually gave the president a one-pager of all of those Old Testament kings about a month ago. That's former Texas governor, former U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry, also talking about Donald Trump. So I want to ask Mayor Eric Adams, is this who you are? Are people, you want people to speak about you the way these men are speaking about Donald Trump? Because that is how I felt when I heard what you said. When I heard you introduced, and by saying it is said that one has to have a separation of church from state. But we have an administration that doesn't believe that. We have a mayor who is definitely one of the chosen. I got nervous because I just saw this and I saw the damage it did to this country. And then I think about, this is the man that has all the power over New York City's budgets. And now is this man going to make me and my family safe with this kind of rhetoric, thinking he is anointed by God to push some plan out? I don't agree with that. I am not the biggest religious person in the world. I am a New Yorker. I am a human being. And I feel like those comments made me less safe because this is not a man of the people. His budget for the second year in a row is defunding the New York City public schools, right? For the second year in a row, he's defunding New York City's social safety net. He had that talk at the New York City Public Library that he is gutting, literally gutting, not defunding, gutting the budget of the library, but stood in the library and had that talk, right? This is not a man that I feel like is making me safe. And Eric Adams, I'm asking you, is this the path that you're going down? Or are you a man of the people as you want to be, as you say you are, an actual man of faith? Because we saw what that other path leads to, and none of us want that. No. We want money for our public schools. We want $3K back in our schools. We want a few free CUNY. We want free SUNY in the state. We want things that actually help people out here. What? Not your ideology and things like that. It's been a long day. I thank everybody for your time, and let's continue to fight, everybody. Thank you.
The people united
will never be defeated.
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 The people united
will never be defeated.